Well, we may have lost Boone, alright, but it's okay, because we have been taken. Welcome to Lost All Caps. I'm Ariel.
And I'm Velvet.
And you're probably wondering what earth that was a reference to. Well, we have some very exciting news here in the studio today.
We have, in the last week, obtained the Lost board game.
The Lost board game.
Which is wild and insane.
Yeah.
And that is an event that occurred.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Let's explain the board game first. We're so excited because, as you know, we are huge board game fans in this family. We're huge Lost fans. It was inevitable.
Oh yeah, we love a good board. We love a good long, complicated board game. So
yes.
This was like, we had to get hold of it. And actually, like, our mum used to own it. And
yes.
She got rid of it. It was in the house when we were younger. And then she got rid of it when we moved house. And she was like, I can't believe I got rid of it because it was literally so recent. And now we have to get a new
She's
version.
so mad at herself for getting rid of it. But it's okay because I found it on eBay. So It's all good. And it's an incredible game. It's definitely long and complicated, like tick. The first time we played it, we definitely played it wrong. But the first time we played it, it lasted about 7 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating, really.
No, I think we started playing just after dinner, which was about... I think we had to set up first. It was about 8:30 when we started playing, and then we were still up playing the game until I think 2:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
So it was long.
Wild.
And the instructions said like 2 to 3 hour game, I think.
Yeah.
1 to 2 hour game.
The instructions are so not detailed enough. We have no idea what's happening. But basically, the way that we've kind of been treating it is a little bit role-play-y in the sense that when you land on a new location, you pick up a card, which is like an event of something that's going to happen. And we've been sort of like coming up with a narrative of how it canonically happens.
Yeah, so like the game is set kind of series 2.
Yes.
So it's basically like characters and events from across series 1 and 2. So there's a lot of stuff that we've already talked about. You know, you get to the crash site, you get to the caves, you get to the bamboo field, etc.
You find the mug shot.
You find the mug shot, you find the watch, which obviously is
very topical.
We're on theme. And it's amazing. And then we've been like, oh, this character found this thing and then they're going to use the gun. We're like, give Walt the gun.
Yeah.
And then he's going to shoot the guy and that kind of stuff.
Do you want to explain the circumstance since it was your turn?
So basically, I had on my team, I believe it was Sawyer, Boone, I think Saeed and... Shannon.
You had Shannon for ages.
Because Shannon actually is a really useful character in the game.
Which is unfortunate because we don't like her.
Because we're not Shannon. And Sawyer is also a really good character in the game. We don't like him. And I had just lost a battle with Ariel's characters. And Boone had been controlled. So what you have to do basically is you have to try and control, like lead all the side characters. So you have to become the leader and be in charge of all the characters. And so Ariel had successfully led Boone away from me. I moved all my characters into a separate area and then I went, well, at least Boone's been taken, but, and then I drew like a fate card, which is events that happen, and it said taken. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. So another kind of kidnap situation. I mean, I don't even remember what the event was. It was just so funny the way you worded it because you were expecting to find some medicine.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like, but at least we have this axe.
Yeah.
You know, that we found on the beach, but no. At least we have
been taken. Oh my goodness me. So we are so excited by the fact that we have this board game. We've played it a few times now. We're loving it.
Yeah, we've kind of finally got the hang of the game. We've almost played it right.
Almost.
Every time we play it, we go, surely that's not correct. And then we check the rules and it's like,
not.
so wrong. But the rules are just like not laid out in a way that makes it easy to understand. So it's really difficult to figure out the game.
Yeah. At some point we've got to do like a
rundown of the game or a story.
Yeah, a live stream.
We'll see.
We can become Twitch streamers for a board game. Anyway, so welcome to Lost All Caps. Stay tuned for board game content. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about episode 6 of series 1,
House of the Rising Sun.
of the Rising Sun. I'm so excited because
I love this episode.
This is genuinely one of my favourite episodes.
It's
out
a
of all of
great
it.
episode.
Out of all of the show. Especially out of the first season. Like, it's so good.
It's so early on as well.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I was like, oh, you don't find anything out about the Koreans for ages, like they're just kind of in the side, and then it's like, no, actually it's like episode 6.
Episode 6.
I can remember the first time we watched it, Dad was like, I thought you didn't find out she speaks English for like half a season.
Yeah. But I guess it's like, how long can they keep it up with no English being spoken?
That's the thing, isn't it? I guess.
So from a writing perspective, it makes sense, but from a narrative perspective, it's crazy because it's like you have so many bombshells in this episode.
So many, and also so much plot progression in regards to just regular island stuff.
Oh, yeah.
As well. We have the caves, moving to the caves, and also Charlie and his giving his heroin up. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's a wild episode. I have one criticism with the actual episode, but my only other criticism is I'm slightly concerned about the title. Because the land of the rising sun is Japan.
Yeah.
And I know that her name is Sun.
That's, like, it's because her name is Sun.
But I'm like, is it like a weird, badly researched pun? Or is it a reference to the song? Now that song...
See, isn't the song about New Orleans?
Yeah.
There is a house in New Orleans.
They call the Rising Sun.
I
fucking love that song.
It's a great song. It always reminds me of that, the bust in the House of Corn Fusion. I don't know if any listeners at home have ever been to York
Imagine
Maze.
hearing that sentence.
There's a place called York Maze, which is really ridiculous. And it's like a sort of... It's summer day out thing. It's a corn maze, and then there's also like a bunch of other stuff going on. I think
it proclaims to be like the country's only corn-based attraction.
Yeah, and everything's corn puns. And there's this place called the House of Corn Fusion that is it's like a sort of, there's like a spinning room that makes you feel like you're spinning. There's a room that's got like, it's on a slant, but it's all built on a slant, so you feel like you're in a regular room that's like got distorted gravity.
There's like a mirror maze. It's basically like a kind of madhouse, fun house, whatever those are called.
It's
like
a fun house type thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was this one room. There's a few rooms that they change every year, and there was this one room that had like a bust in it that had a projected face onto it, and then the face would start singing the House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
And also like spiders would come out of its mouth.
Yeah. No, don't really know why.
No idea why.
But it was cool.
But
I enjoyed
it was really
it.
cool, and I think I have a video somewhere on like my old phone.
And
so yeah.
So I'm gonna try and make an association in my mind between the song and the episode, rather than...
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And say it was a reference to the song.
For no apparent reason.
I don't really remember what the song's about other than a house in New Orleans.
I mean, we could sit here and look up the lyrics and try and find parallels, but that's not what you guys tune in to hear.
I'm going to talk about different lyrics and different parallels later on anyway.
Oh, Jesus Christ, okay.
No, with the song that's played at the end.
Oh, okay. But at least
not
it's
just
relevant.
a random song.
Well, I know what you're like.
I'm not going to be doing that now. Okay.
So, shall we get into it?
Yeah, I don't have any sort of opening sweeping statements to make, I don't think, other than this is just a really great episode. This is one of the most frustrating episodes to watch, I think, as a first-time viewer.
Ooh, interesting.
Because Sun is clearly having such a horrible time. She's in such an awful situation. She's in a plane crash and she's so terrified of her husband that she can't even speak English to help them. Horrible situation to be in. And like, she could have got away.
Yeah. See, I don't think that's frustrating. I think that's like, it's like a heartbreaking kind of sensation. Like, I remember watching this episode at the end, and it's like, and I remember looking at Mum and going, and now she's stuck on an island with him. You know?
I know, it's awful.
It's
like frustrating in the sense of you're like, oh, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you get in that car? Because it's like, if she'd gotten in that car, then her family would have just assumed she died in a plane crash.
Yeah.
So she would be fine. And like, and unless Jin somehow got off the island and back to Korea, they're just going to assume that they both died in a plane crash. They wouldn't look for her. She could just be free.
Yeah.
And she didn't.
Yeah. Not like,
and now she's in a plane, and I bet she regrets it so much.
It's like she wanted to get away, but she's now even more trapped than she was before, like physically.
There's no escape from him now.
Yeah.
Because also, like, she feels like a responsibility, doesn't she?
Yeah.
To make sure he's okay, because he can't speak English at all. So, like, she does have to kind of, like, if she just was to leave and never speak to him again.
Yeah, and also he just wouldn't allow that.
Well, I mean, he was handcuffed to the wall. She could have just been like, I'm going to go to the caves, you can stay here.
Die. But yeah, it just wouldn't work, especially since Jack has told everyone you have to live together or you'll die alone.
Yeah, I mean, unless she just, like, fucked off into the woods on her own. One of the things I noticed right at the beginning of this episode is, obviously you have Sun sitting on the beach and Jin fishing, and then you like hear, and then it goes to like Kate and Jack and Charlie having that conversation. But right in the beginning, it's like it's like gibberish.
Yeah, I noticed that too this time, but I never did before.
I never noticed it before, and then you can't make out what they're saying until the camera like cuts over to them.
Yeah. So it starts with another eye-opening shot. Brilliant, classic. This opening section is like, it's framed in a really fun way because, yeah, as you say, you hear the gibberish and then it goes into the scene. And when we come out of the scene, you kind of get the impression that she feels like quite jealous and she's not, you know, part of the group getting to go on the trek or whatever.
She's like watching them all, isn't she? Going up into the woods.
And then it like hard cuts to Jin killing the fish in such an aggressive manner.
That like the metal like sort of clanking. It's so nasty.
Very nice to each other. I did also write down the sentence, imagine if they'd left the tattoo discussion there. Imagine.
If only.
We can only hope. Because like, I think that scene is enough to acknowledge the fact that the actor has all these tattoos and it's a little bit out of character for Jack.
Yeah, because those are just Matthew Fox's tattoos.
Yeah.
He just has them in the same way that like Don Monahan's, those are just his tattoos.
Yeah. And obviously it makes sense because he's like a rock star, right? But it is a bit out of character for Jack. But they talk about that and it's like a fun conversation and it's a bit flirty or whatever. We're going to talk about Kate and Jack's flirting throughout the rest of the episode, which I despise. But in this scene, it's fine. It doesn't seem cringe. Yeah. And then they go like, you know, oh, you have an inside joke. How wonderful for you.
I like that Charlie's just like, you guys disgust me.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah. And they could have just left it there. They could have just left it there.
Yeah.
But no.
We get some upsetting lore about the tattoos later.
You wait and see. It's one of literally the worst episodes of the show.
I would definitely like bottom 5.
Yeah.
If I had to rank every episode of Lost ever, that one would be dead.
Not this one. To be clear, this is a great episode.
This is an episode in series 3.
Yes. So you're gonna have to wait ages for us to talk about it, but
we'll have a lot to
oh boy,
say.
will it be an interesting day at the office.
But yes, the tattoo stuff, it's quite nice, and it's nice that they're like sort of happy. You know, they're having a bit of a jokey joke.
Yeah.
They're being a bit silly and they're going off to find water. I think now that they have the water, they're all a lot more optimistic, aren't they? They've got the water and they've got John who's going to get Boar.
They're certainly more relaxed.
Yeah. We have then the first flashback.
Oh, so this is crazy when this lore drops.
And they're so happy together.
Yeah. Not only are they so happy together, but also it's like the power dynamic between them is completely reversed.
Yeah.
Like she's some kind of rich, you know, sort of socialite. She's like the daughter of this important man who's throwing this party, and he's like a waiter at the party.
And he's like, the way they talk about Sun's father across the episode is very mysterious.
Yeah.
And it's very like...
and you really don't know what he does, and I feel like throughout the entire show, you only get snippets of kind of what he actually does.
And I think that's really nice, I think, because it's a bit like... Because it's like, we don't need to know. What we know is that he has this power over them. And that's really interestingly done. And it's like so crazy as an opposite that you see them together and they're just like, I really want to marry you so badly. And like, and it's so sweet. And you're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. It is wild. I was like, I mean, this is all pre-title sequence, right? So it's like, we are in for a journey today.
I think do the titles come in after Jin starts being at Michael?
Yeah. It's like midway through, which is really weird, I think. It should be her screaming, and then the title comes in, and then it should cut to something else.
Yeah.
And it just carries on, like,
it is a bit,
from the same point.
It's a little bit weird. I think it carries on from, like, exactly the same point, which I think is a bit odd editing-wise.
Yeah.
Because obviously if there's in American TV, there'd be an ad break there, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
So it makes a bit more sense.
I guess so, yeah.
But it's such an intense beating as well.
Oh my god.
He's like putting his head under the water, under the waves.
Like fucking like,
and like
they say he tried to kill Michael, and it's like, yeah, he fucking
did.
tried to kill him.
He straight up like nearly died. And this does feature one of my favourite Saeed moments. Well, maybe not Saeed moments ever, but this iconic takedown by Saeed,
you love the takedown.
where he just literally launches himself into Jin, and they both just roll into the ocean. And I just think it's so funny.
It is great. Crazy as well, I'd completely forgotten that it's like Saeed and Sawyer teaming up to stop this fight.
I noticed that as well. I wrote that down, that like they work together to like separate them and then to change it up, and I was like, that's crazy. That like they've got bigger problems, and so they have to do it together. Yeah. And like Jack and Kate are gone, and so like they're like, and John, so they're like the big characters, the main characters, and they do it.
I guess it's kind of like they're not really thinking about it, they're kind of just doing it.
They're just like, the more important thing is that they get this like apart, and they don't think about what they're doing. But yeah, I've written the headlock as well. Like, Saeed has Jin in this kind of crazy headlock. Yeah. He's
for
like
half
very like restrained.
Yeah.
And then it's like Sawyer like helps Michael up, doesn't he? And then he kind of goes over and is like also grabs hold of Jin, like brings him over to get handcuffed. But I'm like, I think Saeed's got it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Saeed's fine. It's the military training coming in, I think. He just like locks in, literally.
Did you find it weird that it was like how quickly the handcuffs? Why did Sawyer just have them on him?
Did he?
Yeah, they were just in his pocket.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit weird.
And it was like the handcuffs. Immediately they were like, let's use the handcuffs. Then Sawyer has them on him. Then he immediately gets... Like, it all just happened very quickly. I was like, this is a little convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like with the handcuffs it's a bit weird, because it's like, in the short term it makes sense. Like, in the moment it makes sense to be like, we need to restrain him, because we don't know why he's tried to kill Michael and he has to, like, stop. But then I'm like, they obviously don't have the key to the handcuffs. So, like, what was their long-term plan? But I noticed with the handcuffs as well, when they first put them on, there's a bit where Sun is like, points to her wrist.
Yes, I was going to talk about
and is
that.
speaking Korean, and Saeed's like, the cuffs stay on. But no, she's trying to say...
at the watch!
She's trying to say it's the watch.
Yes!
And I think that's really, like, she tries to help without speaking English first, and it's only when it doesn't work that she knows she has to go to Michael and explain.
Yeah, I think that's so clever as well, because you don't notice that at all on your first watch through.
Yeah.
But on the second one, you see she's going, and you think she's trying to say the cuffs stay on, and it just, first of all, it shows you how difficult the language barrier is, and frustrating for her especially, being like, you know, I can speak English, but I can't let anyone know. That it's like, how does she negotiate it? It's really interesting. And
I mean, That's so crazy as well, like when she says, like, she speaks English, this is jumping to later, but when she speaks English and Michael's like, why didn't you say anything? And she just goes, my husband has a bad temper.
I know, you're like,
that's so scary. I'm like, oh my, she's so scared of him that she couldn't even speak English in front of him. It's crazy.
It is wild. But we have so much to say about that scene, so let's wait until we properly get there.
We'll get to it later. But then we go straight to the caves. And the beehive.
Did you notice, actually? This is this little thing that I noticed. Kate says, how did you find this? And Jack says, luck. And then it pans across to John's face after he said that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's because John knows. Like, he doesn't know, but he also knows, you know?
He says to him, doesn't he, you've got to finish what you started. So he knows that that's what led him. He's like, aha, the island led you here.
Yeah.
Like,
I love John at the start of this series. He's in his mysticism era. It's so much fun. He's, you see it later on with Charlie, the way he's kind of like, you have to give something to the island for it to give you stuff back, and it's like, oh my god, yeah.
The thing about that is also it's so fun because he's got this like mysticism to him, but also it's like really, some of it's really strange when you look at it objectively, because it's like him going like, Charlie's like, I'm just gonna go pee, and John's like, I'm not letting you out of my sight. I'm like, why do you want to watch Charlie pee?
Because he knows he's not going to pee, I guess. He knows he's not going
to pee, but it's just funny.
It is very silly. I love that bit where he goes, are you following me? Yes.
Yeah.
This is the other great thing about John as well. It's like he barely ever lies.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah.
You see this a lot throughout the series because obviously we've had like the secret of the French transmission being kept, but Jack also, he likes to keep his secrets, you know, keeps his cards close to his chest. Oh, side note, we were trying to, when we were playing the game for the first time, we were like, we wanted to try and figure out how you play, so we weren't really being competitive. And so I was like, let's just show each other our hands, you know, so that we can, our hands of cards, so that we can figure out what we're actually supposed to be doing. And I was trying to think of an opposite to like cards to your chest, like we're doing the opposite of that.
We were like, what's the word for the opposite of cards on your chest?
And then I just decided we're playing cards on your knees.
Yeah, which I don't know if that's a thing that anyone else has ever said, but I think
I'm gonna copyright it right here, right now. It's mine.
Cards on your knees.
Cards on your knees, TM.
Credit to Ariel.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cards on your knees. Playing cards on your knees.
And John is playing cards on his knees.
He is playing cards on his knees. Absolutely.
He's just very honest, and because I think what's important to him, especially at this point, is that like the magic of the island is the most important thing to learn about, and I think he wants other people to know that as well. He wants other people to be accepting that magic, and so with the way he handles Charlie, like he wants Charlie to think that the island has had an influence on it, even if it doesn't necessarily.
I was just thinking though, we're saying that John is like the most honest character, but he's actually keeping a huge secret.
He is keeping the biggest secret.
Yeah. But he does, I love the little hints that get thrown in when he was like, I know more about pain than you might know.
Yeah.
And things like that. It's like, that's like a little Easter egg for the viewer, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And also, there was another little Easter egg. I forget the line, but you were saying like they were keeping the secret about the French transmission. Yeah. Charlie said something.
Yeah.
And then Kate like immediately said something else like a little bit louder, and it was clearly she'd gone like, no.
I think
talk about that.
It's when they find the skeletons and he goes, are these the people who were here before us?
And John's like, what?
He's like, there must have been people here before us.
Yeah. And like clearly he wants to be like, is this the French woman?
Yeah. But, I mean, you know that there's going to be a hint at that because it's in the previously on.
Yeah, of course.
We love the power of the previously on.
Power of the previously on to bring in every plot point you know is going to be important.
Truly, truly incredible.
It's really something. So yeah, why don't we talk about the skeletons?
Yeah.
Adam and Eve.
So cool, right?
So cool.
I love that transition because it's like, so Jack and Kate in this episode, oh my god, they're so annoying. What, like, I have no words. It's like, we know that Jack has no riz because we saw him trying to flirt with the flight attendant.
Yes.
And failing miserably.
You know, that violates several critical FDA regulations. Wink.
But it's like, it seems like in this episode, Kate's the one with no riz.
Yeah, because the thing is, in this episode, Kate, I would say, is actively flirting with Jack.
Yeah.
And Jack's kind of like, he's not like shutting it down, but he's kind of just like, we've got other things to worry about.
Yeah.
He's not like going along with it in the same sense.
Yes. But it's just, all those scenes are so, the dialogue's just written in such an awkward way.
The thing is, we discussed this, didn't we, ages ago? But we were like, a lot of the flirting is really awkward, show-wide. And we were like, why is that? And then we went, maybe, we said, maybe it's because it's written by a bunch of nerds who don't know how to flirt. And they're like, what do cool people say to each other? Your tattoos, you and tattoos just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Does that work? And I truly believe it.
Me too.
Because I think, you know, Rizless Jack is a common theme.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the characters have sort of better lines and moments.
Yeah.
But I would argue across the board, kind of all the flirting is really awkward.
Yes. But you've also got to put this in perspective. This is coming from Oz. We have a podcast about a mystery show.
I'm wearing a necklace right now that has an Animal Crossing character on it.
I'm wearing earrings that I made myself out of 3D glasses.
We don't know how flirting works either.
No. But we're happy to shit on others and their techniques.
Those who can't do, criticize those who can.
Exactly. And that's the format of the podcast. So...
So, yeah, the thing with the bees and the shirts coming off.
Yes.
Is that it's just a classic moment of get the tits out at every given opportunity.
Yeah.
Which we've already experienced last episode with the swimming, where the shirts come off and the jeans stay on. Mm-hmm. And why?
And for why.
And the shirts, once again... The shirts are full of bees, but their trousers aren't full of bees.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's actually weirdly done in quite a non-sexual way.
It is actually. I do kind of like it as a... Like, I think of all the moments where they get randomly naked, this is one of the least weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, if a bunch of bees have flown up your shirt, you are just going to take it off. There's no kind of awkward moment where they're, like, standing there and just being like...
Yeah.
Like, Jack is just completely unbothered. He's just like, there's skeletons.
Yeah. No, this is what I was gonna say. So, I'm like, did we need it? Maybe not, but it does kind of work narratively. And then you have Charlie's misogynistic joke, which we definitely didn't need and we don't need to talk about. But they have this kind of weird bit where they take their shirts off, but then it's that any kind of indication that's set up that you think, oh, we're now going to have like a, oh no, our shirts have fallen off moment. All of that is immediately quashed by seeing the skeleton.
I mean, if there's nothing that kills the mood more than finding a dead body. But these skeletons, they're like rotting.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, cool bones. It's like, whoa.
It is cool though.
It is cool. But it's like, yeah, I mean, what does they say? At least 50 years they've been dead for. Crazy.
But yeah, it's just like that kind of shot where Kate sees them is like, again, they're doing that kind of thing where they have this shaky camera and then it goes like steady. It's like, oh, this is kind of crazy. And then it's like a shock value, and then you go, but hang on a minute, these people have been on the island for like 50 years and died here. Well, more than that, and then they've died, and then it's been 50 years.
Yeah.
So it's like...
So over 50 years ago, they arrived on the island.
Yeah.
And potentially, like, as we know, the French woman has been there for 16 years. They could have landed on the island, 100 years ago. lived on the island for 50 years, then died, then be dead for 50 years. Like, that's crazy.
The island has so much history, and it's like, it's so exciting in these early episodes because you really don't know what the island is. And it's like, I mean, I'd argue that you barely find out what it is throughout the whole series, but it's so... One thing I love about this episode is not only the main plot with Jin and Sun, but the kind of like... It's really cool and what's the word? Like... exciting because you don't know what's going on. It's like, it really, there's lots of magical kind of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of fun, like, world building stuff that happens in this episode.
And the black and white stones.
Yeah, and then also,
wild.
Well, you know, we're talking about cards on your chest. Jack just hides those.
Yeah.
He doesn't even say anything to Kate about it. Like, presumably Kate sees them. But he, like, takes them out, and then he hears John and Charlie, and he just puts them away, he puts them back in with the bodies. They've never discussed what they are.
It's just like...
What?
Lost just loves to throw in weird little things like that, like black and white stones in a pouch, you figure it out, you know?
We're never going to talk about that again. It's great. I love it.
Me too.
I love when there's just random little bits in there that you're just like, yeah, we know that some people lived on this island before, but will we ever find out about them?
Hey,
who knows?
Your guess is as good as mine. Side note, have I shown you this mug before? I have this mug with a cat's face on it, and when you take a sip, the ears poke you in the eyes.
Yes. Yes, I have seen that. You, like, drink and then they...
Ridiculous. What a design flaw.
So yeah, the caves, I love the caves. I personally, I don't know about you, but I'm a huge fan of the caves as a setting.
Yeah?
I love the caves. I think they're such an interesting setting in that it is like setting a camp, it's living there. And they're just, and also like everything we've seen already is all these like wide expanses and bright colours and green and yellow and blue, and then it's just like it's grey and it's inside and it's very closed, and I love it. I think it's really different, and all the stuff that happens in the caves is like very fun.
I wouldn't say it's grey, I'd say it's more of like a brown colour. Browny green.
Well, it's rocks, isn't it? Rocks are grey.
Yeah, but they're like all wet. So it's like a dark. A grey to me would be like lighter. It's dark in the caves.
Grey can be dark.
Well, yeah. But I would say it's more of a brown.
No, yeah, but your trousers you're wearing right now, they're grey.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say this is the vibe of the caves.
Well, no, because they're pinstripe trousers.
Go, roll with me here, okay? Ignore the obvious, but I still don't think that's the colour that I associate with the caves.
I mean, I don't know, I would associate like I guess brown, yes, but like a grey and brown is the colours I would associate with the caves.
Okay, fine.
It's the colours of caves. And also,
right.
like, what we get from the caves is also the Jack's little speech about how it would be a great place to live, but then a place to move, and then he ends it with like, I think we can live here, and I was like, that feels really powerful, because it feels like a bit of a resignation to being there for the long term, and it feels like Jack is thinking far ahead, and it feels like he's like not given up hope, but he's thinking like these people need to be like safe and healthy, and like so we should move them there, and it like he doesn't even think about, you know, the signal fire until they go and talk to Saeed, and I just thought that was a really interesting sort of shift in character from like going off to find the radio and stuff being the main priority, to then talking about living.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that, because it's like, that is pretty cool, but I thought they made too much of that speech. Like, Jack looks so smug after it. I'm like, fuck off.
I mean, he does, but...
And I'm like, it's not that good of a speech. You know, what is it that he says, like, we don't need to bring the water to the people. We need to bring the people to the water.
I mean, that's cringe. But, like, the stuff like... I mean, he makes some good points.
He does make some good points.
you know, narrow entrances and cool temperatures and stuff. And having the water.
No, I agree, but it's like, I was just a bit like, ugh, okay. I think the smugness just pissed me off.
It is a bit smug. Here's a question. Would you move to the caves if you were in a plane crash?
Good question.
Because I think I would.
Think you would?
I think I'd want to get off the island, obviously, but I think by this point, I would be like, somewhere that's cool and has water, that's more important.
I mean, I get sunburnt very easily, so I guess I wouldn't want to be out in this. Also, I hate the beach. Sand gets everywhere.
This is what I'm thinking. Like,
it's very annoying.
I like being on the beach, but I think not for a long time. Like, having to wear shoes on the beach, having to be that hot and sweaty. I hate being sweaty. I mean, no one enjoys being sweaty, but like, it's awful. You get sticky. It's the worst. I'd just be like, yeah. And also having to do those treks to get water, I'd just be like, I can't, you know, I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's go to the cave. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know if I would.
I feel like I wouldn't take much convincing.
Yeah. You're straight there.
I'm like, hell yeah.
That's because Jack would tell you to do anything, you'd immediately do it.
That's also true. And so I was going to say, I know the flirting is really awkward, but I do enjoy Jack being awkward. I think it's funny, so.
Oh dear. Simp.
He's just so silly. And I think it's funny that he's so chronically awkward and riskless, and yet, you know, so many people flirting with him.
Yeah.
Me included. If I was there, I'd be like, yeah. I'd go to the caves with you.
Oh my god, stop. The caves? Tell me more. Oh no, my trousers have been conveniently fallen off. As opposed to the top, because you say it's weird that the tops always come off.
I would be narratively correct about it. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go swimming and remove my jeans because I'm not an idiot.
Speaking of being covered in sand, though, did you notice that the scene after... So you have the very dramatic scene with the takedown, and then it cuts to the caves, and then it cuts back, and so Jin is handcuffed to the wreckage at this point, which, by the way, so cool. I love that sort of framing of him, like, with his arm held up, you know.
And then, like, it, like Saeed, like, kind of throws him down and then turns back, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's all very
It's
well
like
done.
A cell, but out in the open, you know.
And it's also, like, kind of, it's almost like, you know that, like, medieval, like, the stocks? Because it's like, he's in the town square, everyone can see him.
It is literally the stocks.
Like, I'm surprised they're not throwing tomatoes. It's like, everyone can see him, everyone knows what happened. They're like, nobody trusts this
And
man.
that's part of his punishment, right? Because Saeed later on says, I'm going to leave him there for a bit longer and then I'm going to go and try to talk to his wife or whatever.
Yeah, like, and it's leaving him in the sun as well.
Oh, side note, this is a tangent to a tangent, but when Hurley says something like he's going to get a bit crispy out here or whatever, like in the sun, I immediately thought of the soup crimp from the Mighty Boosh.
Yes, there's this bit in the Mighty Boosh where one character gets completely unsunburnt at all, and the other one gets really sunburnt, and his face like turns red.
They're
and,
buried
like,
up to their necks in the sun. Honestly, actually, fuck the context. If you know, you know. The soup crimp.
I feel like the context
Google
is really impossible to describe. But yes, what you're going to say about the sand, Michael's covered in sand.
Michael's covered in sand.
Because I did notice that as well, because I was like, he's absolutely covered in sand, obviously because he's gotten all wet.
Yeah.
From being dunked in the water, and then he's gotten covered in sand, and he's just not, like, cleaned. No, it's very fun.
No, I thought it looked quite cool. And you know, like, props to the... I don't know whether it's hair and makeup are plastering sand on him, or whether it's just genuinely from being on the beach that he got sand all
I'm
over
not sure.
him.
Maybe they were like, just go roll around a bit.
But he did have a little cut on his like eyebrow. Did you notice that?
No, he does. He has like some fresh kind of nastiness from this. Also, I noticed his other sleeve has come off.
What do you mean?
On his shirt.
They were both off.
No, so he only they cut one of them off to tie up his leg when he got gored.
Yeah. And
he had the other one on, and then now the other one's come off.
No, I thought both of them got chopped off in an earlier episode.
No, because it was the
Who
episode...
was that then?
It was Charlie. Because I noticed Charlie's sleeves had both come off.
Yeah.
And then in the same episode, they ripped off one of Michael's sleeves, but I was like, why only one? And then it was like, because it's tied around his leg.
I thought it was both of them had their sleeves cut off.
No.
Oh.
And then obviously he's taken the other sleeve off.
Okay, well, there you go.
I just paid a lot of attention to the costumes. Jack's finally changed costume. In regard to the clothes. The red shirt.
Is he in his red shirt?
Yeah. Because his sleeves are on show.
Yeah.
And then you can see his tattoos.
Oh, is that why they're talking about the tattoos?
Yes.
Because you've not seen them yet.
Because, she has seen him because the first time they met, he doesn't have a shirt on, but obviously she's not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because she's just sewing him up. But then he puts he's got his t-shirt on, which obviously covers the big ones. And then he's got, the shirt, the button-up shirt from his suit, and then he puts the red shirt on, and that's when you can see all the tattoos. So that's why she's bringing it up.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Iconic red shirt of Jack's.
I love the red shirt. Mm-hmm. I would consider the red shirt to be one of Jack's most iconic looks, and I don't think that's true for everyone, but I know we would.
Yeah, definitely. What do you mean it's not true for everyone?
Well, when we said that to Mum, we were like, his red shirt. She was like, what are you on about?
Oh, yeah. This was the thing because I dressed up as Jack for Comic-Con once.
Yeah.
And I wanted to wear... It's very hard to do, Lost cosplay. I use the word cosplay lightly. I don't like to use cosplay to describe what I do because I think that implies a level of
take it seriously.
Effort and, polish and... it's really good cosplay, and I'm there in a charity shop top, not knowing what's going on. But yeah, I did dress up as Jack because it's hard to do Lost because they all kind of wear normal clothes.
Yeah, we went through this for ages because I do cosplay fairly. I would say I cosplay because I do a lot more Comic-Cons and costumes and stuff. And I was like, oh, we'll do a matching one. And I can be one of the other characters. But it was just we were none of them really have looks that are recognisable at all.
No.
We landed on Jack eventually because we were you had the buzz cut.
Yeah.
At the time. And then I got a bunch of different eyeliners and I drew the tattoos all over you. And we were well, that's fairly recognisable. And obviously he's the main character. But it was it's so... Because all they wear is just suits and block colour t-shirts. Yeah, and
khaki pants.
Backpacks. I'm you cannot. I would not recognise anyone in Lost cosplay.
No, exactly.
Maybe Charlie.
Yeah, he's got the stripy shirt. But again, if you didn't know, this is why I'm I feel you have to do a big group if you're going to do Lost cosplay and do everybody.
Yeah.
Get them all together. But I had fun doing Jack, and I had a red shirt that I cut the sleeves off of.
Yeah. That we had because of the shirt in this episode that we found because of that.
But he wears it for a while. It's an iconic look.
They repeat outfits a lot and it's something I love, I've said before.
It's an iconic look for him.
It is. I love it.
Speaking of shirts, we have something very exciting to talk about this episode. Michael has his orange shirt.
When does Michael get his orange shirt?
I think it was after this episode or something. Our parents, I'm sure they'll tell you all about this when we eventually get them on the podcast.
Invite them.
But they would they obviously couldn't talk about the show when we were watching it together because they couldn't spoil it, and they would go and
they would go to bed and we would sit downstairs talking about our theories, and then they would go and lay in bed and be like, how soon does this thing happen?
Yeah.
They'll be like, what is it Jack's dad in the woods? and talk about it really quietly so we couldn't hear it.
Yeah, and Mum was saying that she really distinctly remembered Michael wearing an orange t-shirt, but obviously he doesn't wear it for the first 5 episodes, so she was confused. And then after this episode she went, I said to your father, I was like, when does Michael get his orange shirt? We just found it so funny.
It's so funny. Now I can't think about... Every time I talk about the costuming, genuinely what's going through my head is when does Michael get his orange shirt? I'm just because it's just so... why does she remember that?
I know! And why did she phrase it like
20 years on, she remembers the orange t-shirt.
true. It's ridiculous when you really think about it. When does Michael get his orange shirt? I wrote down in all caps in my notes with an asterisk next to it because I was very excited to talk about Michael's orange shirt.
Nice. I didn't even write anything down because I was like, I knew we were going to bring it up. Like,
we have to. Our hands are tied. We have to bring up Michael's orange shirt.
I have some other stuff to say about Michael, though, if we're talking about Michael.
Go for it.
There's a great, the scene where he's talking to Walt. I think it's
love that scene.
It's so interestingly written in many senses of the word. That being, like, having to talk to your son about, like, racism. Being the really intense start to the conversation. And Michael obviously is just trying to be like, but you shouldn't judge people. It's okay. Because also, like, Sun has been looking after Walt. Yeah. And I think he doesn't want Walt to be scared of her. Yeah. Now. To then it just being like, what did your mother say about me? It's like, it becomes like beef with a 10-year-old, which is really funny. When's my birthday?
Yeah, I like the kind of, you get, it is as sort of goofy as it is, it's also really like, quite like, oh shit, you know?
Yeah, it's really quite sad.
Because it's like, you get real insight into their dynamic because it's like, they have never really met, or at least the implication is they don't spend time together, because it's like, what does your mother say about me? She never talks about you. So Walt knows nothing about Michael.
And it's like, we have, over the course of the episodes we've seen already, we've talked about, like, Walt doesn't really listen to anything Michael says, and it's like, that's kind of just in character for any 10-year-old, but it's also like, he doesn't know Michael at all. Yeah. She never talks about you. It's like he doesn't know anything about her.
And that's also, don't you think that's more sad than it being like, what's your mum said about me? Oh, she said that you smell, or whatever.
Yeah, she says that you're a terrible father.
She doesn't talk about you. It's like, oh, fuck.
So it's like, upon Michael, like, coming to pick up Walt from Australia, he doesn't know anything about him.
And much like, I mean, he says it in his little rant, doesn't he? Much like Jin and Sun, where it's like, and now you're stuck on an island with him. It's like, and now you're stuck on an island with him, and you don't know how to bond with him properly. You don't know how to
talk to him properly. And also, like, it seems like Michael, with the, like, you know, Walt's trying to be like, but you don't know anything about me either. Yeah. Michael does.
I know, I love that, because it's like,
so sad, because it's just like, clearly Michael wants to bond with Walt, but he's just finding it so difficult. It's such,
but when he goes, when's mine,
and
again, it's like, because birthdays are important to a 10-year-old, but also it's like, they're kind of one-upping each other, but they're also trying to, you just get a real insight into how the other person feels about the other person, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really intense thing for Walt as well, because he's only 10 and, like, his mum's just died, and he's obviously feels like Michael doesn't care about him because he's never met him before. But for Michael, he just wants to be friends, and it's like they just have a really difficult time trying to connect. It's a lovely scene. It's a really well written scene, I would say.
I think so too. And then it's so cute when it comes back at the end and he says, when's your birthday? They have a little hug.
Him. Oh. Because it's just, that's a bit like, it's like they're trying.
Yeah, it's so cute. Nice. But also kind of annoying as a viewer, because it's like, we get Walt's canon birthday, but we don't get Michael's.
Birthday? When do you think Michael's birthday is? I was going to say May.
December.
Ooh. I would have said like May 16th.
Interesting. I can see May for him, but I also can see him having a December birthday. I feel like
and being a bit of a bitch about it because it's like right next to Christmas.
Yeah.
I would say before Christmas.
Before Christmas, definitely.
Like, again, 15th, 16th.
I'd say earlier, like the 1st of December or something.
I have a friend whose birthday's the 2nd of December.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are they annoyed about it?
I mean, he's never particularly bothered by it, I don't think, but it is, I think it's far enough apart that he doesn't get the, like, birthday combined into Christmas treatment. Yeah. But I mean, he loves Christmas, so it's different. I know a couple of people who have December birthdays who really hate Christmas, and then it's like,
yeah, because it's like at the start of December, all everyone can talk about is Christmas. It's like all the songs are on the radios and all the shops just have all the Christmas stuff out, and it's like in the first couple weeks is when you're doing your like Christmas shopping and stuff.
Yeah.
So to then be like, hello, it's me, it's my day of the year, pay attention to me during all of that, I think is...
Yeah, I remember they said they never
shitty.
put the Christmas tree up until after his birthday.
Oh, that's quite nice.
Which I think is nice.
Day after though. Right, get those cards out of the way. Fucking mowing them down the mantelpiece.
Get rid of the birthday hats, put the tree up. I mean,
throw that cake in the bin.
I can see that for him. I can. But I say I have more of a spring birthday energy.
That's fair.
From him.
That's fair.
What was it? August 24th.
August 24th. I wrote it down. August 24th. Walt's canon birthday.
We don't get many canon birthdays or canon ages.
No.
And I always try and pay attention to when they mention them.
I think we need to do a big... Because as well, like, as I'm sure you can tell from this conversation, we know nothing about star signs. And I couldn't tell you what star sign December the 2nd is.
Sagittarius.
Okay.
Why I only know that because it's my friend's birthday.
Oh, okay.
So
right.
I know that he's a Sagittarius. I know that I had, in like secondary school, I had loads of friends whose birthdays were right at the beginning of December, so I knew they were all Sagittariuses.
Okay.
There's one of the only ones I know.
I see.
That and obviously like Walt's a Leo, but I know that because I'm a Leo.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I see. Well, what I mean is we know nothing about star signs, so we couldn't give them a vibe, like we couldn't assign birthdays to people based on what the star sign traits. We're not Claire, you know. Gemini, what was
Restless,
it? Restless,
passionate.
Oh my god.
Well, what was it? We googled what dates Gemini were.
Oh, I can't remember. But what I think we can do is accurately vibe check the people and give them a birth month.
Yeah, I can like say if someone has the vibes of when their birthday is.
Yeah.
Like I meet a lot of people where I'm like, you definitely have a winter birthday. But like I don't know if that has anything to do with star signs. It's just based on vibes.
Yeah, which I think we should do for all the characters. But after
I'm sure we will.
After we find out which ones we know.
Which ones have birthdays.
Then we'll fill in the gaps, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as a complete topic change, let's talk about Jack and Charlie a little bit more. Because here's a crazy bit of lore drop. John is a Drive Shaft fan.
That's a huge bit of lore. I love that. I love that. You said Jack and Charlie.
I said Jack and Charlie, didn't I? John and Charlie. John's a Drive Shaft fan.
Yeah.
He's got their albums. We found out, first of all, first album is called Drive Shaft. Second album is called Oil Change.
Oil Change! I am screaming. I am ripping my hair out. I am screaming, crying, pissing, throwing up. That's so funny.
It's so in
Oil
character.
Change? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? But I'm also obsessed with the fact that John is a fan. Because also, not only is it great and sweet, and it's like funny because he goes like, oh, just because I'm over 40 doesn't mean I'm deaf or whatever. And it's like, you wouldn't expect him to be into the kind of like, we don't know what genre of music it is really, but I think it's like rock.
I think it's based on vibe, based on his vibe. I would say it's
Yeah.
probably sort of like rock. Maybe into like emo is like around 2000s.
Yeah.
So maybe like early kind of like punk rock, emo.
But then, you know, like
vibes.
Britpop, because like Americans love
I
that.
think they're the Spice Girls.
We see a flashback from Charlie and it's just, oh, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Who would he be? He'd be...
Baby Spice, I think, probably.
I was going to give him a new one. But no, he's Baby Spice.
Baby Spice.
To be fair, the vibe...
He's not Sporty Spice, is he?
No.
And he's not, what, ginger?
No.
He's not ginger.
Or scary.
Or scary.
Or posh is the other one.
Posh is the other one, so he's Baby Spice.
He's Baby. He is.
What's great about this scene is that there's a scene in like the set pilot part 2, I think it is, when Charlie goes and sits down next to John and John's carving the thing and he's like, I used pamphlet once with my band, Drive Shaft.
Yeah!
And John isn't even like, yeah, I know.
He doesn't react at that point, but I don't really know why. I guess it's because the writers are like, John can't say anything until we get to a certain point.
Yeah.
But it's annoying because you kind of want him to be like fangirling a bit.
Yeah, I feel like maybe in John's head he's like, be normal, be normal, be
Yeah,
normal.
maybe.
He's like, don't say anything, don't be
freak
like,
out.
like, because if he'd been like, I know, Charlie would be like, what? Because of his like creepy vibe, you know?
But at this point when he reveals it, it's so sweet. Because also the one thing that Charlie has been looking for this whole time is for someone to recognise him.
All he wants is to talk about his band with someone.
Yeah.
And he finally gets to... And that, like, it's the fact that, like, when John says that, when he says, like, oh, but I thought your self-title was much better than Oil Change, like, he clearly knows about the music. It's not just like with Kate where she's like, you were in Drive, like, I've heard of you.
Yeah.
Like, it's so sweet.
Give me Beth's number, I'll call her up.
Give me Beth's number, I'll call her up.
It's literally brilliant. And then he's like, you know, he just wants his guitar, and it's like, he wants that more than anything.
That's crazy as well. Like that, I remember that really knocked me back when John says, how long is it since you played your guitar? And he says like 8 days, 11 hours. I'm like, oh wow, that's essentially like how long they've been on the island. Like I remember being like, oh, like it's so short, such a short time ago that they were living normal lives.
Yeah. That's so true, actually. I didn't think about that.
Like, he was playing his guitar probably in his hotel room before he flew back to America. Well, say back to America, he's English. I don't know why he was going to America. We'll find out.
Yeah. Connecting flight.
Maybe. I mean, Australia to America to then go to England.
If you're going the other way around the globe, if you're looking at a map and you're going the other way, you'd go over America, wouldn't you?
I don't know.
There's Australia, there's America, there's England.
Yeah. I guess.
Anyway.
Yeah, like he was like sitting in his hotel room playing his guitar, and then he's gotten on the flight, and it's only been 8 days since he was doing that really normal thing for him.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, because obviously we haven't seen any of that. Like, all we know of them is plane crash onwards.
Yeah.
And then we get random little bits. Like, I just remember that, like, knocking me back a bit.
Yeah, and it is kind of like, as well, because in this episode you get a lot of resigning themselves to the fact that the rescue planes aren't coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, it has only been about a week, you know?
But it's like, also, it's been a week.
Yeah. So true.
That's a long time. Like, what were you doing this time last Sunday?
Exactly.
Quite a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. It is.
We were talking about season 1, episode 5.
I know.
Rabbit.
We've changed so much since then.
How much has changed?
Yeah. But like, yeah, it's like, it's those little sort of hints of normalcy, isn't it? They're kind of fun.
It's crazy. And I really like when he gets the guitar. I think that's a really lovely moment. Also, because John's being all dramatic and like mysterious and being like, the island will give it to you. And then he finally gives it the heroin and him just being like, it's up there.
Yeah.
Like, clearly John just found it. And then when
I was going to ask you how you felt about that. About the look up bit.
I thought it was quite cute. I think what it is that John wants people to believe in the magic of the island. Mm-hmm. But also, I think John probably, like, he wants to help Charlie, doesn't he? He wants him to help him give up the drugs. I think he probably just went outside and he found the guitar, and then he went, I'm not going to tell Charlie straight away.
But isn't that a bit mean? It's like, I'm going to use this.
Because I think John probably believes the island has given him the guitar. Doesn't he? Like, he does believe that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why? Do you think it's mean?
Well, I don't know. It always feels a little bit weird to me, that bit, because it's like, your instinct is to go, oh, that's very convenient. And that's like Charlie as well, being like, yeah, it's gonna be beaten up and broken. But then you're like, oh no, but that's the point. Like, he's given the thing to the island has given him his guitar. But then it's like, I don't know, the look up and it just being there, it's a bit goofy, isn't it?
It's a little bit goofy, but I think it's goofy in a fun way. I don't think it's goofy in a bad way. I mean, yeah, it's just John and his dramatics. He has a flair for the dramatic.
He does. I do like John at this. I do like the John and Charlie scenes. I think they're quite cute.
John and Charlie have a really fun dynamic going on. Because they're incredibly different characters. And also Charlie is a main character, but he's by no means a leader character. Whereas John is like barely relevant to the pilot, and then comes in and immediately becomes a leader character.
Yeah.
And I think that's like an interesting dynamic for them to have. Like, as characters, of John being like powerful and in charge, but Charlie's like, well, I was the one who went to the cockpit and saw the monster.
Yeah.
We talk about which way would we go.
Sorry, I've just seen a note that I made here that says, yet another opportunity to wash the dirty tank wasted.
She doesn't have the dirty tank on.
She does. And then she takes it off.
T-shirt.
No, she puts the grey t-shirt on after the bee attack. But before the bee, she's got the tank top on. I swear she does.
No.
And I swear she has the tank top on.
Because Charlie picks it up and says, someone left this.
Yeah. That's her tank top.
Yeah, and then she takes... No, it's the grey t-shirt. And then she takes it and goes like, I took it off because of the bees. And puts it back on. It's a grey t-shirt.
No, I swear it's the tank top. I swear it is. Because I was like... When she takes the tank top off, she could have just given it a rinse in the water, but no. I swear it's the tank top. I swear it is.
I think it's the grey t-shirt.
Well, we're going to have to review the footage.
We will.
See who's correct.
I thought also, in relation to the awkward flirting that they do the whole episode, I thought, I don't want to be Eve. It's such a,
dumb line.
Yeah, but I also think it's kind of not dumb. Because it's also, she's, they spent this whole episode doing, weird, awkward flirting, and then he's just assumed she's going to do what, He's like, you agree with me, right? And then she has to kind of be like, I don't want to just go with you because we've got this weird thing going on.
Yeah.
She has her own opinions, she has her own priorities, and that she wants to disagree with him.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a good way of doing it,
I do agree with that. I think it's just I don't want to be Eve.
I guess.
But yeah, I get when you sit down and think about it, I guess that's just my initial reaction. But yeah, it is pretty cool. It's pretty it's like a powerful thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's just I think it's not what you're expecting. And speaking of not what you're expecting, so actually in that conversation, when Jack then asks what Kate did.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
It's wild. The thing is, I keep trying to think about it. I keep coming back to it because I'm like, I always just think it's so out of character. Because I think, there's he wants to know, and then he kind of comes to the conclusion of, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, obviously as viewers we all want to know, but it's also then I can understand it being just he thinks about it and then it's just really bothering him and he has to ask again, but it's it's been 2 days.
So true.
And he's but what was it though?
The weird thing is, when I first watched this, I remember thinking, that was weird. Why did he do, why did they randomly bring that up again? And why does Kate go, you had your chance to know, and all of that? I remember thinking it was weird. But when I watched it this time, I was like, it feels less out of the blue. I think it's the way in which it's delivered, I think, helps. The fact that the writing is a little bit out of the blue. But also I think it's kind of Jack being a bit petty and being as you say, he expects her to just go with him.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm an independent person. And he's like, oh, okay.
He's like, oh, because you're a criminal.
And also it's a little bit you get that kind of, they've been flirting this whole episode, and then you're they are fundamentally very different people.
Yeah,
He's the good guy, the doctor, the straight-laced, and she's a criminal.
Yeah, I suppose. I just still think it's a little bit weird. I just think I feel maybe it's Jack's assumption is that the reason she doesn't want to move to the caves is something to do with her being a criminal.
Yeah, no, it is weird.
I'm just that doesn't make sense, because it's also surely if she's running from the law, she doesn't want to be found. So she would go to the caves.
I think it's the
whole beginning of that conversation where he's someone else can stay here, it doesn't have to be you. That's just him wanting her to come with him. That's fine. But then him just being why are you like this? What did you do?
I think it's the idea of her settling. That's Kate's objection, I mean.
Right.
it's like she says, I don't want to dig in.
Digging in, yeah.
Because she's, obviously we know that she was like randomly on this farm and all of that. She's on the run, right? So she never is in one place for too long. So I think it's the idea of her digging into the caves feels like it's not an objection like Saeed has, where it's like, I don't want to give up hope. It's her being like, I don't want to, that's making me uncomfortable, the idea of staying in one place for living there.
I guess moving in.
I
guess maybe it's the idea, the thing that Adam and Eve lived there that's freaked her out, that like it's a place to be
and
there
died
for the long
there.
term. I guess it does kind of make sense. I just think it kind of, you're a bit like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I think when he says it, I'm always just like, what?
The writers are trying to lead you on that path, I think. They're trying to say, make these jumps as it seems like Jack is doing.
Understand this thing about this.
Yeah, but it is a bit weird, and it's like, he then assumes that the reason she doesn't want to settle anywhere is because of being on the... It's all a bit, it's very weird.
It's all a bit weird. You know what's weirder?
What?
Sawyer's sunglasses.
Oh my god. Where the hell did he get those?
It's the way he's like, he says something and you like see his feet go into shot and then it pans up and he's like, and he like takes them off.
In these awful like,
sort of like wrap around like...
Yeah. They look like swimming goggles.
They look like the kind, you know, that you pick up when you're like little and you're like, oh, they look so cool.
Yeah.
They look so cyborg.
Yeah,
and then you want them because they look like robot eyes. They're so... And
That's
also,
awful.
like, where did he get those from? He's not wearing them for any of the rest of the episode.
He must have found them in a suitcase, I guess. Who do you think they belonged to?
Ooh.
Let's say it on 3, because I think we're going to say the same person. 1, 2, 3. Boone. They're so Boones.
I think he thinks they're very cool. He's going to be like, hey, why have you got my glasses?
Yeah. Give me those back. And Shannon's going to be like, oh god, I thought I got rid of them.
Threw them in the ocean. Maybe Shannon gave them to Sawyer and was like, please take these. I can't look at him anymore.
For his own sake.
Yeah. Yeah, the sunglasses are...
they're so bad.
Something.
Yeah, and he tries to be all cool, like whipping them off, and it's like, girl, you look ridiculous.
Sawyer just looks so stupid, and it's like, and also that scene is just it's such a nothing scene.
Yeah, why is that scene even in it?
To keep Sawyer relevant, I don't know. Here's something I realised actually. I was thinking about this earlier, because you can't see very well, but I have like a little sort of, I don't know if it's like a bruise or a spot or something on my chin, and every time I look in the mirror I think about Claire's like
little
knock
scar
on her chin. Claire's not in this episode.
No.
And neither are Boone and Shannon.
Yeah. And Sawyer's in that one scene.
Sawyer's in that one scene, and then also the bit at the beginning where Jin, they have to handcuff Jin.
So I guess we're kind of like, we're getting to the point in the series now where we're having separate plot lines and stuff, and we're like, it's not everyone all together, chaos of the crash, we're separating into groups, and sometimes people aren't featured, which is weird.
We haven't seen Rose for 2 or 3 episodes.
Which is weird that it happens on this episode, because there's so much going on this episode. There's like 4 different plots.
And also like there's a bit where Jack is convincing people to move to the caves, and then like I think Saeed goes to Kate, I think, and is like, what are you going to do?
It's Michael.
Because
that's when he's got his orange shirt
That's when he's got his orange shirt, and Michael's like, I'm staying on the beach. And Jack like walks up to a couple of extras and like shakes their hand, and I'm like, that could have been Claire.
Yeah. No, it was a bit weird. I
mean, I always like when the extras are involved, because it's like, there are 47 people. And I'm like, or is it it's 46 now, isn't it, because of Joanna?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, there are 46 of them, and yeah, there's like, 15, 18 main characters. Where are the other 30 people?
Yeah.
You know, we do get a couple of moments where you get them, but I was just a bit like, where's Claire? Maybe she's doing Kate's chart. Maybe she's busy. doing her
sand.
Signs. In the sand. The way it was originally done.
Oh, yeah. Really getting in touch with my chakras. So we've made it over an hour into this podcast and we've barely talked about Sun and Jin.
Yeah,
the
let's talk about
thing
Sun and
in
Jin
this
a bit
episode. Please, because this is a crazy... The flashbacks in this episode are so fucking good. Like,
they're brilliant.
I'm eating it up with a knife and fork.
The flashbacks that come from this are brilliant as well because they're so different to everything we've seen previously. Because it's like, first of all, it's in a completely different language. Yeah. It's in a different country. It's in a different, like, culture that, like, the assumption is that the viewer knows very little about. And it's just so... Also, cutest dog ever. Can we just say
God,
that little dog, the little puppy, and then it's big and it's trying to get Jim when he's on the phone.
The dog grows so big, like so much.
Yeah, so how long is between those two scenes, do you think?
I remember us trying to figure this out. Cause
I feel like we googled the, like, growth rate of that breed of dog. I feel because it's like, because they're like quite happy, but they're not, like, there's, like, problems.
Yeah.
And then there's the scene where he comes home from work and the dog's big.
Yeah.
And then there's the other scene where the dog's trying to get to Jin and then Sun says to her friend, will you look after my dog?
Yeah.
So, like, it's probably about a year. I would say...
How can the dog grow that much in a year? Surely it's longer.
But yeah, I mean, like, puppies...
It's huge.
A 1-year-old dog isn't still a puppy, though, is it?
Well, I don't really know.
We've never had a dog, but if you think about a cat's only a kitten for about 6 months. And then it's a full-size cat. I mean, obviously the size difference is different.
It's just so shocking, because suddenly the dog is massive.
Suddenly the dog's really big.
Yeah.
And so cute. I love that dog. He's so silly.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the narrative that we get in the flashbacks. Like,
crazy shit.
The one where it's like they don't have to elope and the son's father's given permission for them to get married.
If Jin will work for him.
Is like, it's like Jin is sacrificing everything in his life for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is crazy considering what we know about Jin currently.
Yeah. Because it's like, this guy wouldn't do that.
It feels like a different man.
Yeah.
In those first few scenes.
Which really makes you think whatever job he has to do for the dad has changed him fundamentally.
Yeah, and that, like, coming home all covered in blood. I love that scene so much.
I'm literally obsessed with that scene.
That, like, his line just being like, I do whatever your father tells me.
For us.
For us.
Yeah.
But also it's like, if this is what his father is doing... There's an actual danger of, like, potentially danger of life there. Mm-hmm. If he refused to do something that Sun's father told him to do.
Yeah. I mean, we get so little about it. Yeah, he might have been killed. So true. We get so little about it, and it's like, I'm obsessed with that scene for so many reasons, as I will detail. I have thing here. Dialogue, tick. Fight choreo, tick. Dynamic, tick. Blood, tick. Literally, the way he, like, rushes in and she's like, what the fuck's going on?
It's like, as well, it was so cool the way it was filmed, because there's, like, a partition wall.
Yes.
And it pans across, and Jin, like, he looks, and then he, like, kind of slides a little bit with the way he walks. So it's like he's clearly trying to hide from her. Like, what he wants is to get to the bathroom and, like, clean himself off, and then go back out, and, like, she doesn't know.
Yeah. And then you get... him saying nothing and her, like, inundating him with questions, and the sort of really claustrophobic space of that bathroom, you know, and it's like, you're freaking out as a viewer because you're like, oh my god, like, the dad is really involved in some kind of criminal shit, and, like, Jin is having to murder people, beat up people. We really don't know what it is.
Because he won't say.
Because he's covered in blood. And then, like, so Sun is, like, noticing all the blood, she's questioning whatever, and then, I think it's choreographed really well, the way she kind of, like, she tries to get him and he pushes her off and then she slaps him. Because I think often slaps like that look terrible.
Yeah.
In TV, because it's like, that never happens in real life. No one just slaps another person in the face.
And also it's like, often the people don't react very strongly to being slapped. Like, quite frequently someone gets slapped on, like, TV. I don't really know how it works in real life, but they just kind of, like, they get slapped and then they're just kind of, their face is still there.
Yeah.
and they kind of don't move, and it's
And
just
they don't
like,
say ow. They never say ow to being slapped.
not really, no.
No.
But this is like, it's much more of an extreme thing.
Yeah. And I think it's I'm literally eating this scene up. It's so good because not only because Sun literally hits him, which I mean we see her so subdued and submissive on the island.
Yeah, I really like that because it's like she seems so much more kind of powerful in that moment.
But then the way he reacts is so sinister, and like the sort of really slow moving of his head, and it's like this is kind of, for me, that's kind of, at least from what we get in this episode, that seems like the turning point where he is like, he starts to become controlling and all of that. Because beforehand, obviously, he's spending too much time at the office, and that's why he gets at the dog. But it's still like they care about each other, and he's like trying to do this good gesture, but failing a bit.
And I think also it's like, he's like, his thought process is that he's doing it to get the money for them and to give them a good life, and he wants to get her all these presents, but like she's kind of sad when she gets the dog, and she just says like, remember when all you had to give me was a flower.
Oh, that line.
And it's like, all she wants is for him to be there and for them to be together, and he can't really see that, I don't think. I think because obviously she comes from this rich family, and he was the waiter or whatever, he feels like he's not good enough, that he wants to be able to provide and give her the diamonds and whatever, but she doesn't want that.
Yeah, she just wants to be with him, because she's like, let's just run away, like I don't care about the money, but he's like...
She says actually that she suggests they go to America.
Yeah.
It's like they could have just flown straight to LA right there.
They just want to be together, but it's like, her dad doesn't approve, because we assume it's because he's like poor, right? Or he's like working class. I don't know how the class system works in Korea, but like in England we'd call it working class. Yeah. We love Sun's rich girl outfits as well.
Oh yeah, she's got some great looks.
But like clearly he's had to do something terrible, and the way that he's like so expressionless after the slap, and it's like and then she backs out of the bathroom with her head bowed down, and it's like, this is the shift, this is the power dynamic that we're seeing on the island. It's like, now I understand where it's all gone wrong for them.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way they've picked the scenes across what is obviously a really big timeline of events, and like that's not really happened before. Like the flashbacks we've seen seem to have happened in quite short succession and quite close to the plane as well. Everything we've seen so far. Maybe John's is over a little bit of a longer span, but this is like years.
I guess apart from we see Jack as a kid, don't
I
we?
was going to say, apart from the childhood flashbacks, but that's more of like, there's a couple as a child and there's a couple as an adult.
Yeah.
This is like over a span of about, I would say like,
It's showing us their entire relationship, isn't it? Because they go from, not dating in secret to being allowed to marry to being married to their marriage kind of falling apart.
Yeah, and I think it's so brilliant how all we get is these tiny snippets, but we understand exactly where everything went wrong. And I just remember being so shocked by how like happy they were in that first flashback, because I kind of expected it to all be awful, but it's like, actually no, they did love each other and they did really want to get married, but things had just gone wrong for them.
Despite that fact, and the fact that that they were in love once, you're still like, go leave him in the airport. You're like, it's all.
But then he pulls out the flower and it's like,
oh my gosh, wait, no, we've got ahead of ourselves a little bit. We'll get to that flashback in a second, but the previous flashback to that one, where Jin's basically not in it and he just says move the dog, which is funny, and then they go off into the room. Sun's friend, who's like the interior designer or something, fuck knows who she is, but like, she's really cool as a character, and we never see her again, do we?
She's planned all of that out for her. Obviously, like, she's had to do it in secret under the guise of hiring an interior designer. She's had to be like, I need you to get me out of the country.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so...
You don't see any of that, but you understand it. And I just think she's like a really cool character. The way she's like, a girl's girl.
She's a girl
helping Sun out in need, and also she's just like styled in a really cool way. I think her hair's really fun and stuff.
She's got a very fun outfit going on.
Yeah. But why did she never come back?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sad.
But maybe they weren't friends. Maybe she was an interior designer, and then maybe Sun was just like, I need to pay you to get me out of the country and pretend you're remodeling my apartment.
It could be that.
Maybe they weren't even friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that scene is so good as well. I mean, obviously the blood one is my favourite, but I do like that one because, first of all, I noticed it this time, she just says, you've been having your lessons. She doesn't say you've been having your English lessons.
Yeah.
She just says...
That could be anything.
We don't know.
Because at that point she hasn't gone and spoken to Michael yet.
No. So that's the transition. Because then she's repeating 11:15, 11:15, 11:15 is when I have to leave the airport, right? First of all, 15. If you know, you know. Second of all... then her echo of her voice carrying on, which I also think it's fun that they stop subtitling it because it's like, you know what's going on.
You know what she's saying.
Continues when it cuts to her on the island, and it's like you get the idea that this is ringing around in her head, like if only I'd left.
She keeps just thinking,
if only I'd left.
And she, like, in the airport scene, like, she looks out the window, she sees a car. It's like...
It was that close.
She was so close to freedom.
And then
now she's stuck on an island.
It's at that point that she goes over to Michael and she says, I need to talk to you. Harold Perrineau, once again, coming out with the incredible acting.
Brilliant face.
He just like, you speak English!
He has such brilliant facial expressions.
He's plucked. He's the definition of plucked in that moment.
It's just the, like, it's when he's like chopping the wood, and he's like, he says something like, oh, look who's come to chat.
Yeah.
He's like, because he obviously thinks she's gonna be also angry with him.
Yeah, or like try and say something.
Yeah, and then he's just, and then he just immediately, the mood shift, and he's just like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
So, what? And that's a huge reveal as well. I didn't see that coming. Did you see that coming?
Sort of. I didn't see it coming until she, like, started walking into the woods. Like, in the previous episodes, I was never like, one of them can speak English. But then she kind of, when she went up to Michael, I was like, oh, I bet she can speak English.
Yeah, I don't think I ever suspected it. I really don't. Because it's like, it's so dramatic, and also only Michael knows.
Yeah.
As well.
And he doesn't say anything to anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, he just takes it upon himself to go and free Jin and give him the watch back and yell at him about a million things. He never goes to Jack or Saeed and is like, here's the situation, Sun can speak English but she can't tell her husband, like...
Which I really like because it's like protecting her, you know, because my husband has a bad temper.
Like that, he obviously just understands no one can know.
Even though it's putting himself at risk, right? Because Jin attacked Michael.
Yeah.
But so he's willing to do that. If Jin finds
out that he's been keeping this secret, he might go for him again, but she just...
I will say, in these early episodes, there's like little hints of something between Michael and Sun.
Yeah.
At the start of this series. We've seen it a couple times before, and I'm like, I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's possibly because it's not done in such a heavy-handed way as it is with like Jack and Kate and things like that it's kind of like intriguing.
It's quite nice. I like it though also just as like a really nice friendship of like that Michael goes to Sun a few times for seemingly no reason.
Yeah.
Like, he could have asked anyone who speaks English on that island to babysit football. He asks Sun. And I think that, I just really like that as a...
When you think about that scene in the context of this episode as well, you're like...
Oh my god, where he's like doing the whole pantomime, being like, I go hunt, and you just keep an eye.
You just cringe, don't you? Bless him.
Because it's like, she could
understand
I like
all
to
of
think
that.
that's what's going through his head when he's like, why didn't you say something?
Yeah.
He's like, you let me do all of that.
You let me... And
even like when Michael like runs up on Sun while she's washing.
Yeah.
Like, they were alone. She could have said something. And that whole awkwardness, like, she understood everything he was saying then.
He's reassessing everything.
He's like, bloody hell.
His life flashed before his eyes.
But yeah, I love the dynamic between Michael and Jin and Sun. I think the dynamic between the three of them is really, really cool. That's a great thing over Series 1.
Sorry, I spoke over you just then. I agree. That scene where Michael, because all Sun says is, I need you to do me a favour or something. And then he comes up to Jin with the axe.
Yeah, I'm assuming the favour is, like, give the watch back and free him.
But we don't know that. And I was, like, shitting myself.
I was like, is he gonna kill Jin? And clearly Jin thinks
that, yeah.
Like, his face when he pulls the axe, and he's like... And like, clearly he thinks Michael is just gonna kill him.
The acting is so good with both of those two. Like... Yoongjin Kim, whenever she screams, it gives me chills.
Oh, she does some great scream acting.
And I think Daniel Day Kim's a great actor as well. And that scene, he's doing so much with his face, because obviously he can't say anything.
Daniel Day Kim is so fantastic because he acts entirely in a different language in this, and like he didn't speak Korean before he got cast as Jin.
No, this is a fun little Easter egg if you guys didn't know this already.
Yeah, so he's obviously Korean, but he was like born and raised in America, and then he learnt Korean to do this role.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to act in a language that you don't even know
that well,
and still be so brilliant and so like able to communicate so easily, like non-verbally and all of that. He's so brilliant.
Yeah, he is. And that scene is really, it's like so scary with Michael and the axe and stuff.
And also it's just like, it's also kind of funny though. it's when Michael is like, I can't remember the whole line, but then he's like, but since I have a captive audience, I'm gonna talk. And then just complains about Walt and being stuck on the island. And I love the bit where he's like, hey, why not let a $20,000 watch go to waste? Well, it doesn't matter because time doesn't matter on a damn island. And I'm like, it's just so funny. And like we said about Saeed's hissy fit a couple episodes ago, but like I love it when they just kind of get a bit pissy with it, you know?
Yeah.
And they just kind of go like, this sucks and we're really angry.
Agreed.
I just always think it's really well done.
Yeah, no, I do. And I did write down time doesn't matter on a damn island, because not only is it a funny line, but also, I mean, just something to keep in mind as we progress.
Huh?
Just like, I wrote it down because we'll come back to that moment.
Okay.
Many seasons down the line and wonder...
Does time matter on a damn island?
On a damn island.
Oh, okay, now I understand what you were getting at.
This is me in my John era.
I said it to myself and then I went, oh, okay.
You've got to give something
to get
something back 3 years down the line. But one thing that I am extremely pissed off about, and I have been this entire time, first watch through, second watch through, this third watch through, and I will absolutely die on this hill. Where does the axe come from?
Yeah.
Where they just suddenly have an axe? Like, it's not even introduced in any way. Like,
yeah. There's not even like a scene like Saeed has the axe first and he's chopping wood when Jack and Kate come back from the caves.
Yeah.
And then Michael has it and it's like, there's not even a scene of them like finding it in the wreckage.
No.
Jack's not like, where did you get that from?
Yeah. Nothing.
And I'm like, I guess like, it's like a fire axe, I would assume. There's a thing that's in like big like buildings and stuff. I guess like,
but like it's just the fact that it's never addressed and like no one seems to bat an eyelid that they just have an axe now.
Yeah, just like no one freaks out. I think like I would assume it was in the plane for like fire escape reasons or something, or like if someone gets stuck in like a seat belt, you wouldn't use an axe for that. Yeah. They have special scissors for that, I think, though, actually.
Do they?
It's a real thing. I think that's for like plane crash situations or something.
Well, where are those?
Where are they? Surely they could have been useful for cutting them. Maybe they're using them to cut the sleeves off all the shirt.
Maybe they are.
That's what Claire's doing.
That's what she's doing.
She's like, I found these scissors and I'm going to cut sleeves off of everyone's shirts for them.
It pisses me off because it's just like, we have another weapon now. And a really deadly one as well.
That's the thing, no one ever addresses the fact that that's a weapon.
Yeah.
Like, it's only ever really used to, like, I mean, it's used, obviously, Michael kind of threatens Jin with it, but he does just use it to free him.
Yeah.
It's only really used to chop wood. They're never like, we're gonna go hunt boar, let's take the axe.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just, we have an axe.
There's just an axe on the island.
They were all talking about the gun, and I'm like, but the axe.
But the axe. The axe is objectively a cooler weapon.
Also, like, if I'm going into the unknown in a wood forest that might have, like, dinosaurs or polar bears or whatever in it, and you offered me a gun or an axe. Like,
we've talked about this because, like, in zombie movies and video games and stuff, they always use guns. And it's like, why would a gun work against a zombie?
And I'm like, the thing is, you have to return to medieval with this one. You need a sword.
Yeah.
You need a sword.
Flail.
Or a flail. Or like a joust or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Where was that on the plane? Who packed a joust?
Joust the boar. These are the weapons you need.
Yeah.
Because these are from, you know, the medieval, the royal hunt. This is what they would use.
Yeah.
They don't use the axe nearly enough as a weapon for the fact that there's an axe unexplained on the island.
It's the fact that it's never explained. Pisses me off.
This is like Ariel's worst unanswered question. In 6 seasons of the most insane show you've ever seen, this is the thing that pisses her off.
It is. Because where did the axe come from? It's like, oh, we can all assume it was on the plane, but they never say that. And why is there an axe? Do you know what I mean? It just suddenly there's an axe and we're all just supposed to accept it.
No, it is annoying. It is annoying.
Piss me off.
But then, you know, it's
introduced in a very frustrating way, but also in a good way. Because that scene with Saeed chopping the wood is pretty cool.
It's a fun scene, because also he's like way outside of camp, just on his own with an axe, chopping wood, and then he talks to Jack and Kate and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I like that Saeed scene, because he's not in this episode that much, but whenever he's in it, he's just like, stealing the show, basically.
Yeah. And I think then the fact that Michael is using the axe to chop wood and then immediately takes it to go threaten Jin with is quite funny. And I love that the handcuff stays on his wrist.
Yes.
So fun.
Oh,
and
sorry,
like
it's
he
a bit
like
loud.
pulls his arm back and like holds it, but it's like it's still there. How are they gonna get that off?
And that bit earlier in the episode where she's putting like the aloe vera plant or whatever it is on like the skin that's all fucked up underneath the cuff, it's like,
because he's been like straining against it.
Yeah. Brutal, right? And then one thing, like a little detail that you guys can watch out for that we love to see is that the handcuff stays on
For a very long time.
Yeah, so we just watch out for it whenever there's a
anytime Jin is on screen, he's got that cuff on. So let's talk about the airport scene.
Yes. So this is another exciting moment where we get a crossover.
Yeah, because in the last episode, Jack yells and then he turns around and Jin's there.
Yeah. And I kind of like that you don't actually see that bit again in this one. You just see him. He's just talking to what was her name? Chrissy?
Oh God, what's she called?
I think she's called Chrissy.
I think it was Chrissy, because I feel like he goes Chrissy.
Chrissy, I'm standing in front of you.
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl in the suit
I'm going to wear to my father's funeral. Yeah.
So he's just talking to her in like a different, it's like the final bit of that monologue. And we don't pay attention to that. Like the camera pans away from it really quickly. And I like that it's like, a different part. It's like the narrative of Jin and Sun before we see it in their flashback. And the narrative of Jack after.
Because also you don't see Sun in that clip.
No.
In that clip in Jack's episode, you see Jin, but Sun's not next to him. And now we know. It's because she was about to run away.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, wild. So that scene is obviously brutal in so many ways.
So crazy.
The crying is just like, oh, fuck. Really gets me. And also, this is a fun little detail that I noticed. It shows you a shot of Jin from Sun's perspective. It's like a side profile, and he's got that kind of like grey blue shirt with the white stripes on.
Yeah.
everything is very grey in that shot, or like muted, because the Oceanic logo is in the background, but it's not like in colour. It's in grayscale.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm
like, they did that on purpose because
I think they did.
Her life has been like drained of colour.
Something like that. Or they were trying to make it look very aesthetic, especially when he holds up the flower.
Yeah, I guess it makes the flower look very different. Oh, I love the flower because it's just so, it's that like tiny indication that like the man she fell in love with is still in there.
Yeah.
That like, I think in the previous flashback with the friend says like, are you sure you and your husband can't reconcile? And she says no. And then I think this moment is where she just thinks maybe they can.
But also I'm like, girl, it's a flower. He's not changed his ways.
I'm like,
come on.
It's just so...
I know the flower is really important symbolically for Jin, and like the first thing he gives, you know, in that first flashback you see he gives her one, and it's like, remember when you only had to get me a flower? But I'm like, it's a flower. It is a flower. Get in that car, buy yourself a bouquet on the way home, and get out of there.
Yeah, because this is the thing, is it's like a promise that things might change, but can she trust that things will change? Or does she have to change them herself without him? It's so powerful, that last scene.
I am experiencing emotions.
I'm not sure which ones. Yeah. That scene is just so crazy. Crazy intense.
Yeah.
Wild.
It really sort of, it gets the emotions going, doesn't it? The heart's racing, you're like, she's crying. When people cry on screen, I often also cry.
Yeah.
I don't think I did cry at this.
No, this scene didn't really get me. I said a couple of weeks ago that like a lot on this rewatch, I feel like I've been crying a lot. I feel like I keep getting like tearing up at a lot of moments. But I don't think I did really. I think it's more that like tension more than it is like a crying moment. It's more of a like screaming at the TV moment of being like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And then to wrap up the episode,
we have another music montage.
A lovely little music montage. And I was going to say, in reference to the song lyrics, I've now kind of forgotten them. I should have written them down. I listened to a few of them. But there's the kind of main lyric I remembered that I was like is actually quite sort of representative of their situation is like, these are your friends, but are they really your friends? And I was like, oh, that's kind of applies to everyone. Like, these are the people they know from a plane crash. But then it said, like, do they love you as much as me? And I was like, in the context of Jin and Sun's relationship, that feels really powerful. That feels a lot like a sort of, like, yeah, you know, Sun is asking Michael for help and he's helping her and she's been connecting with the other characters, but, like, are they as important as her husband? Do they love her as much as he did?
But then is saying, do they love you as much as me, a manipulative thing?
That feels like a very manipulative statement. But then I was like, oh, that actually is quite...
That's cool. Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about the really sort of heavy-handed bits where they're like, look around you, you're in
what do you see?
A new location than you were before.
Yeah, some of the lyrics are a little bit on the nose, but that line...
But that's pretty cool, actually, yeah. Also, what on earth song is that?
Not a clue.
Because I'm like, these CDs, are they ones that Hurley found, or did he bring them?
I would say he brought them.
Because the portable CD player is probably his, right?
Yeah, I feel like... Because also there's a bit where Saeed is like, let's gather up all the technology. So if he just found it, I think he'd probably be like, here you go.
Yes.
But if it's his, he's probably like, I want to keep this.
That's so true, actually, yeah. And so it's like, what is his music taste? Why is he just like listening to these crazy songs?
No, it is. It's weird.
But yeah, I was like, I forgot that there was a montage in this one because I was like, this episode really fucking has everything.
It's so...
You know?
It feels so long.
It does feel long. It's like, I guess maybe it's because we get the whole of their relationship in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
It feels like a whole movie.
No, it's crazy. And the, like, also that then we get to see, which I think is really nice, which characters do decide to move to the caves and which ones don't.
Yeah.
Because, like, Jin and Sun go to the caves.
Which is crazy because they're, like, in the background, despite the fact that this is their episode.
I know, they're, like, there's a bit where they're, like, carrying their suitcases over, and I'm like, it kind of wraps everything up of being, like, and now they're in the caves, and Michael and Walt are on the beach, and they're, like, separate. And, like, there was a few, I mean, Charlie obviously went to the caves. There was a couple of other moments, and then it's, like, John stays on the beach.
No, John goes to the caves.
Oh, who am I thinking of then? I'm sure there was a bit where it panned over, and it was, like, someone else. Oh no, it was Sawyer and Saeed, that was it. And then Kate. I thought it was John and Saeed and then Kate.
No, because I remember, I wrote down, like, John and Jack are on the same side at this point.
Yeah.
Which is crazy once you get further down the line.
Saeed versus Jack. And that Sawyer stays and Kate. But then all the power and the sort of emotion of that just gets immediately ruined by the crossfade.
The crossfade.
Between Jack and Kate.
Yeah.
Where it's like a close-up of Jack's face, and then Kate's face kind of comes in at the side, and his fades out, and I was just like...
We unfortunately need to talk about the crossfade.
You've just taken me out of the moment.
It's so bad, and for no reason as well. Like, we didn't need to have that. We all understand, they're separate.
We know what's happening. We know that, like, Jack likes Kate, and we know that Kate likes Jack, and we know that they've had an argument this episode.
Yeah.
And that they feel bad that they're not together anymore because they've been with each other since the crash.
Yeah.
I was going to say since the island started then. They've been with each other since the island started.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get over that crossfade. Why?
It was so bad.
Why? So bad. Who made that choice? It was a choice.
I just want to chat. Because I think largely the sort of cinematography of the show is really brilliant.
Yeah.
And is really well done. And, like, as someone who studies film, I've been able to appreciate it a lot more recently of knowing, you know, the techniques and being able to notice those things that you don't necessarily notice when you don't know about them.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just really bad. There's the odd moment where I'm just like, what the hell was that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a good moment. But the montage in general, I enjoy. It's obviously not as good as the montage at the end of Tabula Rasa. And that is like, it's kind of a perfect montage, that one. This one's not as great, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, and I've actually got written down, I forgot I wrote this, in the Tabula Rasa notes, so just looking back, the scene in later ep is a shitty reversal of the good scene between Kate and Jack. That's for this episode.
Oh yeah.
It's because in that episode they have,
where they like sit by the ocean, and he's like, I don't need to know.
Yeah, and this one they sit by the ocean and he's like, you had your chance to know, you know?
I don't think you had your chance to know is a bad line. I think that's like, because she's right. She's like, she said, I want to tell you what I did. And he says, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
And then now he's coming back to her like 2 days, 3 days later being like, but what did you do though?
It's all the dancing around it. I didn't like, I'm going to tell you what I did either as a line. It's just like, ugh, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just, that's just not how people speak.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments in the dialogue of this show where I'm often just like, is that how real people talk?
Mm-hmm. And it's, we've talked about that scene. The scene, it just,
I think it just, like, it tries to be a lot better than it is. Like, I think it's an okay scene, but the way that it's framed and in the narrative and all of that, it just kind of is like, supposedly really powerful and a big moment, and it's just not.
Yeah. As I say, I felt like it was a little better on this rewatch, because I remember, well, you know, clearly in the episode, I remembered the scene and was like, I'm not a fan. But this time I was like, it is a little better, but yeah, it's just not quite there, is it? It's lacking a bit.
Yeah.
It's something I can't quite put my finger on. It's all a bit odd.
It's just a bit weird. Yeah.
And not in a good way.
No.
Unlike the episode as a whole, I'd say. I mean, if we're doing kind of closing thoughts time.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're getting to closing thoughts now.
Like, the amount of weird-ass lore that gets dropped in this episode. Like, who the fuck are Adam and Eve? Why do they have those black and white stones on them? Do you know what I mean? Like, we get so many crazy...
Or the arguably weirder lore, John is a Drive Shaft fan.
Right? I mean, right? We learned so much in this episode. And then obviously the huge bombshell of Sun can speak English.
And also all the lore drop of Sun and Jin's life.
Getting their backstory
like
is
Jin
wild.
being like... appears to be like an assassin of some kind.
Yeah.
Like, because he immediately goes to... Like, he straight up tries to kill Michael.
Yeah.
So you're like, something's going on, and then coming home covered in blood, you're like, what is this guy's job? Because before this, he's just like a controlling husband.
Now.
Nope.
No one knows. But yeah, he's definitely dangerous. And it's like, he knows how to effectively attack someone.
Yes.
We don't know if he knows how to kill, but something.
But he definitely knows how to beat someone up over
really
a watch.
badly. Yeah. And yeah, the watch, and it's like, Michael says the watch doesn't mean anything, but clearly it does mean a lot to
and
Jin.
clearly Sun's dad has such power that even in a plane crash, someone taking that watch is bad enough that he needs to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of power does this man hold over these two?
Yeah. And we don't see him at all in the episode
either. We don't see him as well, yeah. So he's just this kind of enigma, this figure.
So many enigmas in this show. So many enigmas. We've got him as an enigma. We've got the island as an enigma.
John.
Adam
Jack's
and Eve.
dad.
Yeah.
Being the sort of ghost who leads him to water.
The polar bear.
You can lead Jack to water, but you can't make him drink.
Mm-hmm.
The polar bear, the monster.
So many enigmas.
The French woman.
It's Enigma City.
Is the French woman one Adam or Eve? Eve, obviously, but...
Well, I mean, I don't think so.
No, because he says 40 or 50 years.
They've been dead, so that wouldn't make any sense.
Because it's 16 years. Unless she somehow set it after dying.
Ghost.
Christian's a ghost, maybe?
I mean, come on. Creepy.
I doubt it. I don't think you're supposed to think that.
No.
I think it's supposed to be that there's just loads of people who've been on this island before.
Imagine, though.
Imagine if that was the French woman.
Creepy.
He's so weird.
Yeah, well, Charlie kind of thinks that, doesn't he? But that's before Jack says they've been here for like 50 years.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah. And then you kind of have like... You just have so much fucking happen in this episode.
Literally, we've been going on.
Yeah, we have.
We've been, as of recording, the raw number is very nearly 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I have any more closing things to say about this episode.
The axe.
The axe.
It's gonna piss me. I'm gonna continue to bring it up because it's so annoying.
The axe, the English,
Mm-hmm.
the caves. I'm gonna sum that. That's how I'm gonna sum up the episode. The axe, the English, the caves.
Mm-hmm.
Because also the English in the sense of Charlie and his heroine.
Wow.
The English.
So profound.
So many layers.
So many layers. The axe, the English, and the caves sounds like... What does it sound like? It sounds like something.
Yeah, I like a sort of... It sounds like the sort of chapter in a history textbook.
Yeah.
About like the Norman conquest.
Or maybe it's like the answer to Cluedo. It was the English with the axe in the caves.
Lost Cluedo. How great would that be?
That'd be so good.
It was Charlie in the caves with the axe.
That would be amazing. Lost Cluedo. But then you don't have rooms, do you?
There aren't rooms, but there are locations.
There are tents. Oh my god. Lost themed Cluedo. We need to... I mean, I was about to say, we're going to pack this up and go play the board game. We're going to pack this up and go Google if Lost Cluedo exists.
Design Lost Cluedo, I think. I saw a fan version of Lost Monopoly someone made once.
Oh, yeah.
With, like, a bunch of locations and then,
but
like...
Monopoly's a boring game.
This is the thing is, there's so many versions of themed Monopoly when Monopoly sucks. But Cluedo is a great game, and you never get themed Cluedo, and I think so many books and TV shows and movies work really well as Cluedo.
Yeah.
But it's not officially themed Cluedo.
No.
Like, I don't know why the Cluedo... Someone get me on the phone to Hasbro Gaming.
Come on.
I've got ideas.
Yeah. We need to Lost Cluedo. Kate would be the white piece because of her dirty tank.
Grey.
You have to colour it in, the thing.
Paint little, like,
rub
stains
some
all over
soil
it.
on it, yeah.
Step 1 to set up is take the white piece outside and roll it in the dirt. And on that note, let's wrap it up.
I think so. Thank you so much for listening. We follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, Facebook. You usually do this. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I
them
know.
all.
I'm
You're enjoying
if you're
this.
gonna remember them.
YouTube and Spotify.
Yes,
Those are the most important ones. That's where you actually get the podcast.
Yeah, subscribe, follow, etc. So you can hear more.
Yeah, please do.
And
lostallcaps-podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Ariel Hebditch.
And at Velvet Hebditch. And we will be back next week talking about episode 7, which is The Moth.
I think it's The Moth. Yeah, because we've got a nice lead into The Moth this episode, haven't we, with John and Charlie.
It's about Charlie.
Yes. So get ready for the Spice Girls reunion tour next week.
Drive shaft, oil change, and baby spice.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Love you lots.